Welcome to Data Security Over Coffee. That's DSOC to those in the know.
Where the only thing more dangerous than a zero-day exploit is Chad from accounting clicking on every single email attachment.
From password post-its hidden under keyboards
to that one guy who keeps using password 123 despite our 47 security memos. We're here to talk about the threats you never knew you should be terrified of.
I'm Dr. Joe Harford.
And I'm Angie. Have you tried turning it off and on again? Singer Keating.
Bringing you the latest in cybersecurity nightmares and risk management drama.
Because somewhere out there, a hacker's trying to get into your company's data.
And Karen from HR just clicked on another free iPhone pop-up. This is Data Security Over Coffee, DSOC, where every episode is a penetration test you didn't ask for. Oh my gosh, it worked. Yeah. We're famous now. Oh my gosh, we're on LinkedIn Live. Now there's only 225 people that are watching.
That sounds more realistic. When you tell me there's 900 some, I think you're totally full of crap.
Well, sometimes I am full of crap. And you know what? This is exciting because we get to do all of these cool new things with our friend John Barry. So before we get started, big shout out to Barry Solutions Group, owned by John Barry. They are a phenomenal partner. They're an MSP located in central Pennsylvania. I'm not going to steal his thunder. John's going to talk about the company. Angie begged me to bring John on board because, number one, he's a United States Marine and he's got big, bulky arms. So she loves that about him. So we had to say, come on, John, come on board. So, John, why don't you tell us a little bit about Barry Solutions Group and what's up today?
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me first off, and appreciate the partnership and the friendship with both of you, and look forward to the future together, doing great things, right? Barry Solutions Group, long story, but started my career in IT post Marine Corps, GI Bill, went to school, didn't want to be a cop, understood that computers was a weapon system, like all the weapon systems that I shot as a grunt in the Marine Corps. And so through that, I decided to learn that weapon system as best as I could. As I got into it, I understood that networking is really the area where computers can hurt you, right? When they communicate with other computers, that's really where it can hurt you. So learning that side of the world, I became a network administrator. Network administrator back then when I started was the cybersecurity person, right? There was no cybersecurity person back then. It was the network guy, right? So early in my days at American Bankers Association, I learned the hard way of how to ensure data as China was beating on our Cisco PIC systems every minute of the day, right? So that was a good life lesson for me to understand that someone's always trying to get your stuff. As I grew in technology, I also grew in business, and I was able to get on board with a fellow Marine as the 12th employee of their company, and was able to be on board for that journey to be 55 million and 350 employees. It was really an MBA in OJT, right? On job training as an MBA. So got to see that grow. Naturally, as I became more strategic, I got away from more of the technology day-to-day ops, and I got into more of the business ops. So the next step, really was me to start my own firm and put into practice what I had learned for so many years, those 20 years of experience. So here we are today. We are a service-disabled, veteran-owned small business. We are located in Altoona, Pennsylvania, not too far from you guys in Tyrone. We do have 3 offices, 40 employees, and we really operate in 3 verticals. We operate in a small, medium business vertical that we have 100 or so clients that we support on a day-to-day ops business as their outsourced IT group. And we basically support them in a CISO role, a CIO role, as well as all their day ops. And that allows us to to really run the gambit across all aspects of technology support as an MSP. And then we specialize when we get into our enterprise clients and our government clients. We really specialize more in cybersecurity remediations, as well as physical security implementations projects. We even dabble in some situational awareness trainings and threat deterrent trainings, and ingress egress consulting for for more of that security prowess, if you will. Joe, you always like to say that we are the wrench turners of the industry, and we are, and I like that. Being an enlisted grunt, a third generation Marine, I'm a blue collar guy, right? I own a farm. You'll find me with coveralls on, milking our goats and shoveling, what, right? That's what I do to relax. So that is my downtime, and I'm a blue collar guy. So our company is definitely that way. We like to do the remediations. We certainly are not, Neanderthals in the sense of how we do business, right? We're certainly very cautious and careful and precise in what we do, but just the same, we get things done. That is what I like to do, right? And so that's really what we are at 40 employees now. We have vans running around the entire state of Pennsylvania, trying to keep SLAs for government agencies or enterprise clients or what have you. And yeah, that's our pretty much our day-to-day ops is evaluating and solving problems. That's really what I'd like to do best.
That's very cool. John, two things. First and foremost, thank you for your service. I think often we kind of forget to do that, and that's unfortunate, but I do want to say thank you. I was fortunate enough that my dad was a Marine in World War II.
Right.
My oldest son and middle son were both in the Air Force. Angie has service in her family as well, with her son, who's currently in the Army. And it's a big part of, I think, from a service that now reflects in our own businesses that matters to our customers and the seriousness that we put behind the work that we do. And also thank you for your partnership, because I've known you for a few years through my wife Karen. It's been a lot of fun, and I think that we both agree that if we can't have fun, then it's not worth doing. So we have a really good time on a regular basis. So we've got information security, we've got all this other kind of crazy jazz going on. We got MSPs, we have MSSPs, and blah blah, all that kind of jazz. So you have, what I think is cool is John Barry is an ops person in technology, a wrench turner, as we would say. And you have Angie Singer Keating, who is a governance, risk, and compliance person for the last, call it 25 years of her life. I won't tell you how old she is because she's still younger than me. And we realized that those two worlds have to come together now. It's no longer okay to say, oh, I'm an MSP. I'm worried about firewalls. That's about it. So I guess my question for you, Angie, put you on the spot with your funny coffee mug, if you happen to show that to people sometime. Why do you think it's important for organizations like Barry Solutions Group to partner with managed security service providers like Reclamere? Why does that even matter? Why should they even consider it?
Is that me first or you, Andrew?
I say we'll let ladies go first. We'll let Angie go first.
Well,
I mean, well, to call her a lady, but she is.
No, I was going to say, you're calling me a lady. Well, first I wanted to say, Joe, based on how you're dressed, I hope your job interview today went well.
It did go well. I had a job interview today at Sheetz, second shift, lead cashier, and they called me back for a second interview. So I'm pretty pumped up. Good. I hope it went well for you.
Because we get a whole lot more done in the office when you're not here. So
I know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that some of the reasons why we work so well together with folks like Barry Solutions Group is that they recognize that we're not a threat. We're not a competitor. There are occasionally things that we similar services that we could offer or clients might ask for. But we really work well and play well together, swimming in our lanes. And, our focus when we work with an MSP partner like Berry Solutions Group is not just helping them protect their client, but also helping Berry Solutions Group protect themselves.
Great.
And so, one of the things we find in a lot of MSPs is that they are incredibly mature when it comes to the operational aspects of IT, and they're incredibly knowledgeable, super, super smart, but they're constantly keeping their client systems going, and they don't always necessarily have the bandwidth to keep their own policies, procedures, all of that kind of thing, spruced up. And so that's another way where we're not just helping MSPs clients, but we're actually helping the MSPs themselves. I think the other value that we can bring to a business owner like John Berry is obviously he has a team of folks that are incredibly talented. We've met them, we've worked with them. Our folks have worked with them in other jobs. It's kind of a small community in IT. But John, as a business owner, also would like some assurance that what his guys say they're doing, his folks say they're doing, they are actually doing. So we can also be that second set of eyes, very similar to how our SOC auditors are our second set of eyes as business owners to make sure that our staff is doing what they're supposed to be doing. So it's just a whole host of ways that we can help each other, and we can refer, because the other part of it, I think the other really big part of it is when we go into an organization that needs technical expertise and help, we want to be able to refer business to Berry Solutions Group, because we're not going to refer anybody that is going to make us look bad. And there are times where we go into clients and it's like, yeah, you need some additional help on your operational IT. So you need to talk to these folks at Berry Solutions Group to help you out, whether that's project basis or that's a managed service. But it's just really great that we can help our clients and direct them towards that kind of expertise as well.
For sure.
So we have a question from the audience. That's why I have the dashboard and you don't. So this is from Derek Jones. I'm going to say it's Derek Jones. Derek Jones asks, John, what do you find is the number one challenge that businesses face when you go in to do IT work? It's kind of a cryptic.
It's a great question.
So what do you think that is, John? When you guys go in and somebody calls you in, you're referred in or whatever, if you were to say this is the typical problem that we find, what would you say that is?
Since we're referring to InfoSec in this context, right? I'm going to keep it in that lane.
Sure.
And it's always, and I almost hate to say this because it's going to sound maybe derogatory, but it's the lack of knowledge of the user, right? I'm sure it's the same. Angie, I think this is a perfect time for you to lift your cup, please. I think that so.
Oh my gosh.
So realistically, right, that it's I don't know what the percentage is, but it's an overwhelmingly large percentage majority of data breaches are actually caused by social engineering, right? People being fooled by another person, right? And so from that standpoint, that to me is probably the most the lowest hanging fruit that an organization can do, right? Just take some time to train your employees on best practices, data hygiene, and that in itself is likely your greatest investment, right? So,
John, I think that you have to be on our show more, because we have more questions coming in and more people watching than ever before. You're a draw, dude. You're like an MMA fighter. That's what it is. You're like an MMA fighter. I love this. This is great. Okay, Angie. Eileen Miller wants to know, follow up to John's comment about low-hanging fruit. Eileen Miller, oh my gosh, this is very difficult. what is your solution, or what is your advice for people that are running businesses today to help with phishing attacks?
Yeah, that is a really, really great question. I think one
Eileen
of the
Miller,
most,
she's on it. Eileen Miller's
yeah,
on it.
yeah, I think one of the most important things is that you're using security awareness training that isn't just little videos of cartoon characters and then multiple choice questions. I had some, we do security awareness training here at Reclamere, and one of our latest ones that our team sent out that we had to do actually showed you a token theft attack, how it happens, how easy it is, and showed you all the code behind how it happened. So, I think that we've gotten folks to a point, if you're doing any kind of security awareness training, we've gotten people to the point of, well, don't click on things you don't know. And if you have MFA, everything is golden. Well, we're seeing so many attacks that are token theft related, where people are putting their token in and it's being stolen. So that MFA is not the golden ticket of 100% foolproof protection. And so I think if your security awareness training is not including the more mature type of content around how the attacks happen, you're probably boring the audience, so they're not going to stay engaged, and they're not going to be on alert for the most common things. I think the other thing that was super important in our most recent training is it really emphasized the Office 365 environment and why phishing attacks are so deadly on them, because we've talked about it before, where we have a client and they thwart the attack and they think they're golden until they find out the amount of information that sits in people's mailboxes of things like protected health information in spreadsheets. And we have to be the bearer of bad news to say, let's get on the phone with your attorney. Let's get on the phone with your cyber carrier, because under HIPAA security rule and the definition of a breach, we can't prove it didn't happen. And therefore, these 5 spreadsheets that each have 500 patient records in them, we have an issue. So I think it's really important for that context to be there.
Great.
Is this training you're talking about? Is this the email that I deleted the other day? This is the training you're talking about? Yeah. Okay. I'll ask them to resend it to me. I'm sorry. But you know what? I didn't know what it was, so I deleted it. I did what I was told to do. That's Tim Henry. Tim Henry, if you're on here, you're responsible. That's what Tim Henry told me to do. Oh my God. God. This comes from Derek Campbell, still in school. Your advice on breaking into the IT field. Apparently, I don't know what kind of degree he's going to get, but he's interested in. So what kind of advice do you have for Derek Campbell in breaking into the IT field?
I guess the best thing that I could do for you is to tell you the sacrifices I made to get into it. And that was, I drove an hour and a half into DC, which, each way. And I just ground my teeth in traffic, sometimes 4 hours to get home. And there truly is who to get in. So sometimes you have to make sacrifices, maybe even move, to a new residence of a new town, find an opportunity for you to get in somewhere. And just in an environment that's going to be fruitful and rewarding. I don't think that a call center where there's a whip cracking over your back every 5 minutes is necessarily the IT world, right? You have to be able to get in somewhere, and sometimes pay is less important than getting somewhere that you can immerse yourself into some different areas of IT so that you can truly understand what it is you want to do. Again, in this InfoSec commercial that we're, talk that we're having here, right? The line really gets drawn between what you would consider kind of a CISSP, which is more of a policies, procedures, trainings, right? The higher level of understanding conceptually how to prepare your environment, going through the tabletop exercises for an environment, right? And then there's the side of us, which is more of the ethical hackers, right? Where we are the ones that are going in and doing port scanning, and we're validating firewall configs are locked down, and we're doing log files and running them up to a SOC, and ensuring that the best practices in the day-to-day operations are happening. Those are two
And
completely
John,
different tracks, right?
John,
And once you
yeah,
get into it, yeah.
John,
Yes.
let me jump in too, because as business owners, I don't know if you would agree or if this has been your philosophy, but at Reclamere, I can't remember the last time we hired someone who was a cold recruit. Every single person at this business is someone that we've either worked with, has worked with one of our employees, was a client of ours, is a family member of a current employee. And ever since we did that, our turnover rate has plummeted. So I say this because my advice is to get involved in things like the Penn Highlands chapter of ISC Squared. There's a great, especially for students, I think they offer free memberships for students. They meet every month or every couple months at Marzoni's in Duncansville. And that it's the network you build that is going to get you those all important internships and first jobs that are absolutely crucial, because I've got a culture here that is amazing. I am not putting out an ad on LinkedIn and letting just any freak come in here and wreck my culture. People have to be able to vouch for you if you're going to be on this team. It's what's worked with us, and we've got a 7.5 year, I think now, average employee tenure at Reclamere. So if it ain't broke, don't mess with it. But that's a big piece of advice I would give them to get into any IT field.
Yeah.
See, John, this what's always interesting is that if you recall, as I asked the question, I did not solicit Angie's input. She just decided that she wanted to give it. That's what I deal with every day at work. And by the way, as a follow-on to a question or a comment about freaks, we have a freak quotient at Reclamere. I fill that. I am the freak quotient. So
Too much. Right? Yeah. We're all booked up with crazy here, right? I think it's Jack Nicholson's famous line, right? Yeah.
I love it. Okay. So big question. MSP, service provider, professional business owner, veteran, trying to make a living, run a business. Why, John Barry, why is information security important to your business? Why do you care? We've had a conversation about doing a project together for quite some time. We've worked together for a while. You obviously take it seriously, but for your peer group in the MSP ecosystem, what do you want them to understand why it's important to you? Why does it matter?
So, as any business owner, not even an MSP that goes out and and does that same support for others, right? Just as any business owner, it's a game of liability, right? We live in a liability-rich world, and you have to manage liability. I've spoken at several cybersecurity conferences, and I always start with I want to break the paradigms of people and say, look, Marine, okay, so take it in stride. If you want to be completely secure, we can create a 4-foot thick concrete wall bunker, right? And we can put ourselves in it and we will be secure, right? But if you want a door, well, now that's liability, right? Okay, well, we got to have a door. I wouldn't mind being able to see if the sun is out or not, right? So put a window in it, right? Another very high end of liability, right? So that is a good way to kind of elementarily see what we have to do to mitigate liability with productivity, right? So that is the crux of the InfoSec conversation, right? What is the risk and what is the reward? And that is the problem solving aspect that any business owner should be thinking about. Okay. Now, when we escalate this into being an MSP, right, I'm carrying services forward. So not only am I advising other companies, but I am also holding some of their data and their processes in my control, or my liability, right, for that matter. So it is essential that I am not, in your earlier conversation, Angie, the cobbler's kids have no shoes, right, because they're so busy giving other family shoes, right? It's essential that I am not that company, right? So we take it very seriously, and to the extreme, we don't do anything outside of BSG until we've done it inside of BSG, right? Because if
Yep.
it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander, right? The other
Yep.
way to look at those things. So
Yep.
so from our standpoint, we are in government contracting. We are into, you know, some of the compliances that we have to hold dear, right? So we are, the NIST compliances, the 800s, right? We look at those controls. We look at the CMMCs, right? And we are practicing what we preach, because we are out there doing remediations and advising other companies on those kinds of things. And some of them we're working together on, right? You guys as the authority of the checklist of controls and the policies and the procedures, right? And us turning the wrenches, right? Implementing some of those, software, some of those systems, some of that hardware, in order to, and physical security anymore is just as important as cybersecurity, right? With some of these controls, they're right there. And so that's a lot of the reason why I became both a cyber and a physical, because I knew that was a point of data that's going to be coming together, right? Those controls are now intermixed. Um, so when I go out and I talk with a company, with the exception of maybe like HIPAA compliance or real heavy PCI compliance, which is some of the companies that I support have, right? I come at it from the standpoint of what we do and how we do ours. And then I say to them, okay, like, how serious are you about this, right? If you're down for a week or 2 weeks, how is that going to impact your business? And even with that, you may never get your data back. So if it's something along those lines, what's your budget, right? And you have to have those honest conversations to say, how much do you value? 10 years ago, I would have conversations and say, okay, where do you budget, IT in your world? Is it a cost center or is it a profit center? Is it a differentiator for your business life cycle? Or is it something that's just a liability that you have to pay for and keep, but you look at it as something that you just have to do rather than embracing it to differentiate your deliverables in your business, right? And it's that same mentality now with InfoSec, that the business owners and the decision makers have to really decide, right? Do you want a window, right? Or are you like, you know what? We're going to do a gazebo because we don't really care, right? It's all good. Well, okay, but just know that anybody can come into your gazebo. So it's not a very secure environment. So that's really how, I look at, the conversation that I have with my clients and say, but this year is a little different. I will say that this year, because of the ridiculous amount of money that I'm paying in cybersecurity insurance, right, and the ridiculous amount of money that other clients of ours are paying in cybersecurity insurance, I've kind of created a stopgap, right? You need to be at X.
That's
If
exactly, you went straight where I was hoping you were going to go, because my question to you is, we're seeing a trend of MSPs where there was a time where best practice or kind of recommendations were that MSPs were to go to their clients and, as a way to upsell, make them come on to a certain specification or certain threshold, and if they don't, make them sign a waiver. Well, what we're seeing now is not about the waiver. It's about firing the customer, not even taking the customer on, because you can try to waiver away as much liability as you want. But the other way to look at that waiver is, you've just acknowledged that you're not going to protect the client to a certain amount. And even though the client says that's okay with me, our job as the experts is to say, you're really dumb for waiving that away, and we're not going to even work with you if you don't. We can't care for your stuff more than you care for your own stuff. So are you kind of seeing that play out in your world where you're either forcing them to step up to do the things you've been telling them to do, or you're telling them to step off? You're just not able to be their service provider if they're not going to come along.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right, and I will take it a step further, right? Anyone that knows me and knows that has done business with me or does business with me knows that I genuinely care, and I want, I work on three principles: mutually beneficial relationships can last forever, communication solves almost all problems, and treat people the way you want to be treated, right? It's just that simple, and it's been a great business model for our culture and for our company, right? So in that world, I have to say that the mutually beneficial aspect of the relationship, if I am held negligent and your attorneys, after you get breached, come and steal my bread and keep me from being able to feed my family, it's not a mutually beneficial relationship. I'm sorry, right?
Right.
So it's not that I don't want to continue to support you and do business with you, but it's a level of liability. It's malpractice, right? If I'm negligent because I see that you have wide open gaps, and I say, hey, just sign a waiver to say that you're not going to sue me. Well, yeah, I'm still negligent, right? I still know, and just because they know, it's been proven in courts time and time again. Someone can't sign their rights away, right? They can't. So if they're ignorant and we're the expert, you can't go into a doctor and go, look, go ahead, cut my arm off, right? I'm signing the waiver. It's okay, right? No, no court in the right mind is going to go, well, the doctor just cut your arm off. Well, I released him of all his rights. You know what I mean? No, they're not going to let you do that, right? They're negligent. So same game, right? We are the professionals. We need to know better. And there's something to say that, and I don't want to beat up on starting out MSPs, right? But there's something to be said for, when you're, can I have some more, please, right? And you don't have a customer base that's really sustaining you. It's very difficult for you to draw that line and go, all right, we're not going to accept that liability because, quite frankly, every penny counts when you're just starting a business, right? So it's both been a blessing and a realization at year 5, and that we have to start to mitigate the liability. It's really just that simple. And
you
it doesn't.
You talk about liability, and I talk about risk management. I feel like if you do risk management right, the liability part should be somewhat mitigated, because as you're right, as a business owner, I remember when we first started our business, and I remember a major printer, a global printer company, we signed a contract with them, and that contract basically said if we screwed up, we were going to be sued into oblivion. And there's no attorney on the planet who would have ever recommended that we sign that contract, because it did not inure to us in any way, shape, or form. But the fact of the matter is that Joe and I had to make the decision as business owners to accept that risk to try to grow and build a business. But we went into it with our eyes wide open that, the 2 houses that we put on the line to get our SBA loans and our bank loans, if things went bad, we were homeless. So yeah, it is nice to be in a 25-year-old business where we do get some discretion like that. And I completely sympathize with, those folks that are starting out, and you got to but there, man, it's a different world today. It really is a different world today.
It really is. Yeah.
So, John Newman would like to know, Angie, I'm assuming this is going to be a question for Angie and you as well, John. Okay. Angie, describe your, oh my gosh, people need to learn how to type. Describe your best partner company. I'm assuming that they're talking about, John, that describe if you were going to work with a partner company, and you can't say, oh, they have to be like BSG, like that's a cop out. So who describe your partner company that you would want to work with? What characteristics would they have? I'm speaking on John's behalf because he can't type. What does that person look like? What's that company look like?
Oh, that is super easy. Yes, they do look like BSG, and those characteristics that they have are all of the things that he's been talking about. So what I want to see, well, I don't do this work anymore for the money. I do it because I love what we do, and the clients I love working with are the same as the partners I love working with. They value our expertise. They want us to be partners with them in a dialogue of how do we make you more secure. They're not looking for the cheapest price. They're looking for a competitive value where they have the ability to have the owner's cell phone numbers, and they know that if something goes wrong, Joe and I are going to be the ones working with our team through the night or the weekend. And John is the same way. And so I want to see improvement when we work with a partner. I want to see the clients they refer to us to help get more mature in their cyber program. And I want to see MSPs get more mature in their cyber program when we work with them. So that's the type of partner I love to work with. You're in sales. You love the partners that refer business to us because I like to spend money and you like to make money. But at the end of the day, I want to work with people who want to get better, and I want to be part of that success.
John, before you answer the question, because I really do want your input, I want it to be noted, since this is being recorded, that she said earlier before she started that she's not in it for the money. So when her direct deposit does not happen this month, I want you to be aware that she may be calling you for gas money.
Right. I think she said she likes to spend money, right? So, careful there.
She has been spending money for 24 years of my life. And yeah, absolutely. She spends money like you can't even imagine. Yes. John, please.
I think that I'll just caveat everything you said, Angie, was spot on, and I agree 100%. I will caveat it with one thing, right? I had brought one of the big three of BSG, which is that mutually beneficial relationships, right? And that's easy to say, but what it really entails is it entails me being invested in your success, right? That's the differential, right? And two partners can choose to be adversarial, right? And be looking out for each other's benefits and interests, right? But if you're truly a partnership that's invested in the other's success, that's the kind of a relationship that can last forever, right? And I try to have that same mutually beneficial relationship with my clients, with my partners, with my employees, right? All of them. I want us to have a mutually beneficial relationship, right?
Absolutely.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
So February for us at Reclamere has been a month focused on policy review. We've talked to customers and prospects about a cybersecurity scorecard, a report card on your cyber posture. We've talked about security risk analysis. So there's a lot of things that are going on. And again, John, I just wanted to say thank you for not only being on Data Security Over Coffee, because it's so much fun, but for being first and foremost a friend of Reclamere, as well as just being a cool guy. FOR, friend of Reclamere, like that. What? Of course, that. Yeah, she's trying to be funny, and she does a good job. I have to say that because she does a good job. Next month, hopefully, you'll see us out on Data Security Over Coffee. We're going to have this person has been a friend of ours since 2003 in healthcare. Her name is Anahi Santiago, the biggest Philadelphia Eagles fan on the planet. She is the CISO at Christiana Health in Delaware.
She is an absolute badass. I am so excited. You kept that for me on purpose.
Yep, she is a rock star. You would love her, John, because I'm telling you, if you want to talk about somebody that's going to get down and dirty and do the deed, I'm telling you, she's hardcore. She's really cool. She will be our guest in March. And so let me ask you this, Angie, in closing, what advice do you have, John, same question to you when Angie's done. What advice do you have going into the beginning of 2025 for anyone who's watching of the 275 people right now as it pertains to information security? It can be any advice at all that you have. Go.
I have two shameless plugs.
Ooh, okay. Well, it's our show.
Number one,
yes.
Number one, tomorrow I will be doing a webinar for Ben Franklin Technology Partners of Central and Northern Pennsylvania on business disaster recovery and business continuity planning and incident response plans.
Okay.
And then next week, I will be emceeing the Pennsylvania Association of Community Bankers Risk Management Conference, doing two sessions. One on IT asset management, I believe, and one on, I don't know. Anyway, you can go to the Pennsylvania Association of Community. You go to Pennsylvania Association of Community Bankers website to see about that conference. It's in State College at the Penn Stater. And you can go to the Ben Franklin Technology Partners website to sign up for the webinar tomorrow, if you would like. So those two things, if you want to get some free education, those are some good ways to do it.
Very cool. John, wrap it up for us. What's the advice you got for people? Anything it doesn't have to be about information security. It could be anything at all. What advice do you have?
I just think that again, talking to the point I did before, an ounce of prevention is a pound of cure, right? Train your people, right? Invest in your people, right? Identify what your line of budget is, right? And talk with someone like Reclamere or BSG about the best way to spend that to get the most bang for your buck, right? There's certain things that you can do that yield a better ROI than others, right? But remember that every employee is a door into your environment. If they have access, they are a door into your environment. So if you can get them to at least have some level of data hygiene prowess, they're going to be like a lock on your door. So that is where I would say is the easiest, lowest hanging fruit is for companies to just lunch and learn, right? Buy some pizzas, bring it in, feed them, and just give them, a half an hour of hard data and then 30 minutes of talking about stories, right? Stories are primal. It's like fireside chats, right? People remember them better than a 30-minute slideshow or a PowerPoint, right? So talk amongst your employees, talk about the horror stories, and some of that stuff will stick. That would be my recommendation.
Very cool. Well, this is going to be the very first time we do this together. I'm going to run an outro video. And if you're curious how we were able to capture all of this cool video today, you want to go to Yazoo Group and talk with Eli because he's really responsible, because Angie and I could never figure this out on our own. So we're going to run this outro. Don't go away, John, because I believe what's going to happen is this video is going to run and then we're going to talk to each other, but we won't be on LinkedIn Live anymore or something like that. I don't know. I'm just the guy that presses the button. So I'm going to try this one more time to see if we can be super cool.